Hey y'all, it's Peggy Marchetti here at Madison Creek Farms, and today I want to show you an incredibly delicious recipe that uses the bitter berry. Come on back. Hey you guys, welcome back. So I told you guys in my little tease that we were going to be working with the bitter apple. Well, let me introduce to you the bitter apple. It's such an intriguing name, isn't it? It's actually an eggplant. An eggplant is in the nightshade family along with your tomatoes and peppers. They're all in the nightshade family. But eggplant probably originated from Southeast Asia, India, and it traveled up through Persia, which is Iran, and it really has become a staple food for all of the Middle East. They really like to stuff it into, to boil it, to do all kinds. Stewed eggplant is huge. But eggplant, I always call eggplant kind of the tofu of the vegetable world because it picks up, and it's a sponge, so it will pick up a lot of oil, so be careful with your oil, and it picks up a lot of flavors. Now, Black Beauty is the only one that you really have to do an extra step when you're processing this eggplant to really get a good flavor with it and no bitterness, hence the bitter apple. So I've already cut some up for you to get it started because it takes about 20 minutes to do this. So what I've done is I've sliced my eggplant. Let me get my cutting board out here. So I've sliced my eggplant. You want to take off the top like this, and with the compost bucket, compost bucket. Remember the compost bucket? Yes, very important. Don't throw your food scraps in the garbage. It just goes to the landfill. It just boogers up the landfills. Throw it in the compost bucket. Start a little compost pile. Bring it back to me. Bring it to the farm. Put it in my compost pile. But just don't throw it in the trash. It's just not good. So this is the eggplant. I've cut the top and the bottom off. Now you really want to get a good start on eggplant by taking off. Now all of the eggplant, the peel, everything is edible, but you want to take off this so you can kind of get a good slice. So for this recipe that we're going to do today is kind of like an eggplant parmesan. And so what I really want to do with this is I want to get some medium thick slices here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bread them, and then I'm going to brown them, and then they are going to be popped into the oven to roast off just a little while. So a good, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch slice, about that thick is what I'm looking for. But do you see these seeds that are in this eggplant? This is where the bitterness comes from. The rest of it is tofu. It's sponge. Doesn't really have a taste to it. But all of that is in the seed. So what you want to do is you want to lay out a paper towel on a plate, and you want to lay out your eggplant, and then you want to cover it in salt. Just sprinkle salt on it, and what it's going to do is it's going to release that dark juice. See those seeds? It's going to release all of that. See that dripping off there? That is the bitterness. So you're removing the bitterness. So when you're getting ready to fry this eggplant, what you want to do is just take a paper towel, and you want to just wipe all of that off. Just come over and just wipe that off on both sides. Oh, my pan's hot. So here you go. Now I've got a little olive oil started in my pan. You want to make sure that your pan is on medium high. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bread these up. So I've got one good farm egg here. So I'll make sure that nothing's in here. One good farm egg. Come on out. The leaves are falling from the tree. Eggplant is going to be at your farmer's market or in your farm CSA, your farm box, late summer and through fall, because they take kind of a long time to grow. So just gonna whip this little egg up here. Get a good whip in the egg, and then I am going to grab some breadcrumbs. Now these are some just plain breadcrumbs. But to this, I want to kind of spice it up a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder, and then I'm going to add some smoked paprika, just a little bit. We're going to add it more in our sauce. Some good salt, coarse salt, where's my pepper? Oh, no, that's not my pepper. Where is my pepper? Dadgummit. Well, I'm moving right along. I can't, I forget everything when I'm doing these recipes up here. I'm going to add some herbs, a little bit of herb. This is our herb blend, so you've got some parsley, some basil, some rosemary, and some garlic powder in there that we kind of mix up, just to give it some spice, just to give it some kick. I cannot believe that pepper. Now I like to use this really coarse pepper when I'm cooking. So you're just going to mix those up, and then I'm going to grab my eggplant like this, and it's going into the egg to get an egg wash first, and then going right into my breadcrumbs. Now I won't have to fry these very long, because I'm going to actually finish them off in the oven. So I'm going to get them frying. Hear that? That's the sizzle, little sizzle. That's what you want to hear when anything hits your pan. You want to make sure you start off with a preheated pan. And you want to heat up that pan before you put the oil in it, because that way your oil is not kind of degrading, because oil will degrade when it starts cooking. So, put your oil in a little later, but make sure that you get a good hot pan before you put your eggplant or really any sauteed vegetable in here. So I'm just going to lay this one in here just like that. All right, so they're breaded up. I'm going to move this out of the way. So while these are cooking up here, and I know this little eye has no power to it at all, just barely. I'm just barely getting a sizzle. Now the thing that I notice immediately is this eggplant is soaking up that oil, so you don't want to use a whole lot of olive oil. This is just really good olive oil in here. You don't want to use a whole lot, because the eggplant is a sponge and it soaks all of that oil up, which is, especially if you're grilling eggplant, you really want to use one of these or a spritzer to just barely coat it with oil. So now I'm going to start my sauce, because the sauce is going to go in just when this is coming out, and I'm going to lay these on a cookie sheet when they're ready, and then I'm going to pop these in the oven for about 15 minutes and let them finish cooking off. So for my sauce, I'm using Heirloom Tomatoes. So I'm just going to cut the top off. This is a little lemon boy here. Right now, the Heirloom Tomatoes are absolutely wonderful. Sad part is we're kind of getting into our fall season, so we won't have them very much longer. And the thing that I love about using Heirloom Tomatoes, besides the fact that they taste amazing, unlike anything that you've ever had. Get those grocery store tomatoes, girls. Those are just cardboard. These are amazing. They ripen on the vine. We don't take them when they're early. We use them when they are ready, when they were intended to be. So I'm just kind of giving a chop to these Heirloom tomatoes, and I'm just doing a mixture here. So these are just some little paste tomatoes, which make fabulous. That's what I make all of my sauces with, because they're really a meaty tomato. They're not as juicy. Now I do like a juicy tomato in this because it's really flavorful, and it really flavors up my sauce that's going to go with this eggplant. So I'm just kind of giving them a dice. I don't care what kind of tomatoes, as long as they're heirlooms. I'm just using whatever that my husband went out and harvested for me for this little cooking demonstration. The thing about heirloom tomatoes too is heirloom tomatoes, they take a while to ripen up on the vine. I'm just checking my eggplant here. It's still cooking. this little eye. I guess I'm gonna have to invest in a better eye, maybe a gas one. That would be fabulous for these cooking demos. So all I'm doing is just dicing up some of these tomatoes. Now I also want to add a green pepper, so I'm just gonna dice up a little bit of this green bell pepper. This is a sweet pepper. So when you see this vein, you just take your knife, run it through, and I like to kind of take off this top too, because I really want to get this kind of a clean cut when I'm dicing. So this vein just comes out, not a big deal at all. And then I'm just gonna dice it up. So let me move my compost pile out of the way. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make strips. So I'm just kind of cutting it in strips. Claw fingers back, really good sharp knife. And then I'm gonna flip it around here. And then I'm just gonna give it a little dice. How can anything go wrong when you've got peppers, onion, and garlic, and heirloom tomatoes? I mean, the eggplant, baby, is just bonus. That's a lot of great flavors. So I'm going to use a little bit more pepper. Take those seeds off. No vein in this one. Again, just giving my pepper a little dice. I don't want them too big of pieces because I want all the flavors to kind of mix together. I don't want to really overpower anything with more peppers than, look at that. Beautiful. So I'm only going to let these brown on this other side, not really cook all the way through, because I'm going to use them. I'm going to go ahead and cook it off, roast it in my oven or bake it in my oven to finish it off. So I want to get an onion, just a plain old onion. We just harvested all of the storage onions a few days ago. That is so much fun when you're pulling up those storage onions, because they're big and they take all summer to grow. And it's just like, it's almost like when you finish off a big bunch of strawberry jam and you know you're going to have strawberry jam all winter long. It's just such a good feeling to know, that you grew those onions, and you know all about them, since, we grow our onions out from seed. So it takes a year to get those onions. So these are our babies. So all I'm doing is making a dice. So I just went through 3 times through the center, and now I'm just coming in, claw fingers back. You can't get cut by your knife if you make sure that your thumb and your fingers are clawed like this back. And you're kind of just holding that back end with your thumb. So claw fingers back like this, thumb kind of behind here, and all you're doing, and you can control your dice this way as well. So all you're doing is just running that knife right through. And again, you can't get cut. You can go all the way back. You can use every bit of it when you do it that way. And it's safe. It's not going to cut you. So now I have my onions, and I have my onions, my peppers, and my heirloom tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and take off my eggplant out of my pan here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and remove it and set it to the side. I'm going to put a little towel over it. And now we're going to start on our sauce. So, good olive oil. I know, Urban Market. The Urban Market makes these here in Nashville. They're actually in Franklin, and I love them. They don't know anything about me at all. I'm not affiliated with the Urban Market, as I've said before. It's just that when you find a really good product like that, so they make all of these different balsamic vinegars that I love to use, and all of these flavored olive oils. This is just a regular olive oil in here. Nothing, it's beautiful tasting. It's bright, but there's nothing special to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my onions and peppers. Hear that? That makes me so happy. When something hits that pan and it starts that sizzle, whoo! Yeah, that's what it's all about. That is what a saute is. So you want to get that in here. Into this pan, I am going to add some minced garlic. Just some minced garlic. Nothing special. That we had a great garlic season this year too. Our garlic was really great, and you know, you get to kind of, when you're growing garlic in our farm box, and if you're in a CSA or a farmer's market, they have so many different varieties of garlic. And what we grow, or what we grew this year, was a white, kind of a white Russian garlic. But the year before, I grew this red Siberian garlic that was just amazing. So we're gonna get those cooking and let those kind of brown down and get really nice. Those onions gonna be translucent. These peppers are gonna kind of melt down, and then I'm gonna toss in these tomatoes. So we're gonna get this all situated. I'm gonna toss in these tomatoes, and then we're gonna get started on kicking this dish up to a whole different level. And this is gonna really intensify those flavors, and this is what's gonna make this dish so dang delicious. So come on back. So now that I've got my peppers nice and melted, starting to melt down and get tender, and then my onions have kind of gotten this translucent flavor. It takes about 3 minutes to do that. I'm going to go ahead and start tossing in these heirloom tomatoes. And I want to make sure that I get all the juice from these tomatoes in here, because really I'm making this kind of a sauce that's going to go over this eggplant. So I want to make sure that I get my tomatoes, all of that juice in here as well. Oh my goodness. This smells so delicious already. I just kind of want to eat it just the way it is. So let's get those cooking, and now I'm going to start kicking up this recipe with a couple of things. So one of the things that I use a lot of is this caldo de tomate. And basically it is a chicken tomato bouillon. That's what it is. So I have about 2 tablespoons, or a tablespoon and a half, and 12 ounces of water. So that's going to give me a nice liquid. While these are cooking, I'm going to add a good splash of some apple cider vinegar, some red wine vinegar in here, about a tablespoon, and get that starting to cook in here, because I want this sauce to have kind of this darker flavor to it, because especially in the Middle East, they make these really dark, I can't even describe the flavors of them. They're just this really complex flavored sauce that goes over these eggplants. So this is my way of kind of emulating that without going too far into it, but kind of keeping it Americanized, but using some of those incredible complex flavors that you find in their sauces through eggplant. So let's keep cooking that down. And then to that is where we're going to start getting into some complexity. So I'm going to add some onion powder, about a teaspoon. Same with garlic powder, maybe a teaspoon and a half of garlic powder, because we do. Smoked paprika. Now the smoked paprika is going to give it that really smoky flavor, and smoked paprika with these heirloom with these heirloom tomatoes is really fantastic. So a little smoked paprika, cinnamon. Yes, I know, isn't that crazy? But cinnamon you won't really be able to taste cinnamon, and you find a lot of cinnamon and allspice in a lot of Middle Eastern dishes. The cinnamon adds this layer of this dark complexity. You can put, you know, cinnamon in coffee is great too. Hello. A little bit of cinnamon. And then to that, I am going to actually kind of, these are fennel seeds. I'm going to actually kind of just break them up and put them right in with my tomatoes right now. This is kind of like a whole international global dish. So here I've got a little bit of Italian working. Thank you, Mark Marchetti. And then a little Middle Eastern thing going on here. A little Hispanic thing going on here. A little bit of an American thing going on here. This dish can save the world. Yeah, this is a peace dish. The bitter apple is a peace dish. That's my that's my take on it. A nice pinch of some coarse pepper, and then some more of our herbs, just our little herb mixture right in there. A little allspice, not much allspice, just a little bit. There you go. That's way plenty. And now I'm just going to kind of mix that together with my finger. Just like that. So, yeah, oh my goodness. Gorgeous. It's getting gorgeous. I'm going to shake that around, make sure I get all of that flavor. I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to pour it right in here. So what I'm going to do now is then I'm going to add in all of our flavors, all of our seasoning right in here. And then I'm going to bring this to a simmer, and I'm going to let it cook down until it's nice and thickened and dark in color. And that is going to be my sauce that goes over this beautiful eggplant. So let's get it cooking down. This is going to take about 12 minutes to really start reducing at a good simmer. So you just want to leave it alone. You might want to come in and stir it every now and then. But the main thing is to reduce it down to half. So it's going to be nice and thick and bubbly and darker in color. So let's let this cook. Let's leave it alone. Don't even talk to it. Don't even talk to it. And we'll be right back. Okay. Yay. So I've gotten my eggplant out of the oven here, and what I'm going to do is just use a plate, and I'm going to transfer it off to a plate because we're going to plate this. If I'm hung up, I'm just going to set it right here. It's absolutely beautiful, nice and brown. We'll set that over here. All right, and then our tomato sauce is done. Now this tomato sauce has a lot of incredible flavors in it, really dark, rich flavors in it. So all I'm going to do is pour it right on top of my eggplant, just like this. This would be fabulous with some pasta, just like that, right over top. And it smells so delicious. It really does have, with the allspice and with the cinnamon and with the smoked paprika, it really has this incredibly intense, dark smell around it. I'm going to finish it off with some fresh basil that I just went out and got. Again, we're going from flavor to flavor, from Middle Eastern to Latino to American, and just pop some fresh basil on there. And literally, when you're chopping basil, the more you chop it, the more that those oils get released, the more flavor gets released. Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to hit it again with a little Parmesan cheese right on top. This is absolutely beautiful. I'm looking for a fork. I want you to take a look at that. This is gorgeous, and it's smells so delicious because of the heirloom tomatoes and because of all of those rich spices that we use. This is just an amazing dish, and this is my lunch today. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this recipe, don't forget, of course, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're interested in farm CSAs, look for your local farmer. I encourage you to always look for your local farmer. That's the guy that's in, or the woman, or like me, the female farmer that is in your neighborhood, in your town, that is growing fresh, organic, hyper-local food. And then you'll walk away with dishes like this. So, and if you are in the Nashville, Sumner County area, check us out. It's Madison Creek Farms. Thank y'all so much. I'm off for lunch.